Welcome back to Casa de Confidence. I'm your host, Julie DeLucca-Collins, and with me I have Ashley for today. And Ashley is from Pretty Penny Accounting. And she tells you that you're in the right place when you land in her world. She is an expert in small business accounting, QuickBooks guru, and her obsession is helping women make better decisions in their business, all while feeling confident and living in their zone of genius. First of all, I need this conversation. So, Ashley, I am so glad that you're here because there's so much what we want to unpack. But before we get going in this conversation about Pretty Penny, about accounting and numbers, and by the way, numbers are sexy if you know them and you have the right support system. So thank you for being here. Let's talk a little bit about you. Tell us more.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat today, and hopefully no one is already scared away with the fact that we're going to talk about numbers and accounting. We'll try to make it fun and light, and I do agree that they're sexy. So I love that.
I think there's one phrase that my mom would say, it's numbers don't lie.
That's right.
And I
That's
think
right.
that that is a really great thing to really leverage as information as we are entrepreneurs in the process of creating an impact on the world, or even if you are someone who is in a career world, the numbers are things that can really help to inform the decisions and how you are living your life and the things that you're spending your time in, and how you're putting your goodness into the world.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And since, like your mom said, the numbers don't lie, when we give it attention and we give it a little bit of time, it actually can really take a lot of stress off of our plate rather than making money a stressful thing.
Yeah, I had a client this week who had to speak to their accountant, and I texted her Monday to ask what was one of the things that she was looking forward for this week. And she said, I'm not looking forward to anything. I have to speak to
Oh
my
no.
accountant. And I said, there is so much freedom. I want you to think of how much more this can kind of take the weight off of you, because you'll come out of there with a clear understanding of what is happening and what needs to take place.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
so right. You're so right. And I feel like I'm just going to take this as my little segue into a bio, but truthfully, whenever I went to school for accounting and whenever I really made the decision to major in accounting, I was really nervous about the sort of stigma around accountants. And especially, I grew up, my parents were entrepreneurs. And so I knew that at some point, at some way, I wanted to serve small businesses, but I
Mm.
never wanted it to feel like people coming to the principal's office. I just
Oh,
was
so
really
good.
nervous. Yeah, I was nervous. I think there's so many people that have the same experience as you just described, where
Yeah.
they have a meeting with their accountant or they have to go see their accountant and they're dreading it leading all the way up to that meeting. And then sometimes even after they leave, they're feeling, shameful or, like they're not on the right track or they aren't
Right.
doing things the right way. They've got so much they have to improve. And that's not a great feeling at all. And I think when we can really change the script and empower people around the financial side of their business, and you can feel confident around those meetings and what numbers in your business mean to you, then that just makes you do your job better and feel much more joy around the financial side of your job, which just makes running your business more enjoyable overall. So that was kind of a piece of sort of my background, but I just never wanted those feelings to be
Yeah.
associated with working with me. So something really big that we do at Pretty Penny is just making sure that our clients feel super, super comfortable. And we try to make accounting really approachable so that people can feel really confident around that side of their business.
Yeah, I think that this is something that I want to redefine for women in business and women in particular, that we have to take control of the things that scare us the most. And by the way, I'm raising my hand as someone that was a total disaster with money. And still, by the way, I don't have it 100% together, because old habits die hard and programming has to be reprogrammed. But I
Yep.
really made a decision that in my business, I wanted to, prioritize this part of the business and really be able to. That was one of the big investments I first made, an accounting software, because I knew I needed to track the money and be aware of am I making money or is this a hobby? And I think that that's one of the things where we kind of fall off the wagon in this journey.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I think just like you said, investing in your business and really giving
Hmm.
the financial piece time and attention can make your job so much, can make your life just feel less stressful.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that once we do it once and once we figure it out once, we have it figured out forever, or that everything is perfect forever. It's also a marathon. We're in, most people, if not all business owners, are in business to build something that's sustainable
Hmm.
and long lasting, at least until you're ready to step away. And in order to build something that's sustainable, we just have to constantly work on the financial piece.
100%. Now, you alluded to the fact that you have parents that are entrepreneurs and that now, you went to school for accounting. Did you start off as an entrepreneur too, or did you transition to this?
I transitioned into it. So right out of school, I went to work for a CPA firm, and it was a smaller firm, which gave me the ability to get a ton of responsibility and learn a lot really fast. So I was
Mm,
there for maybe 5 or 6 years, and I was serving small businesses. So I was doing the bookkeeping and accounting for small businesses, and I
mhm,
absolutely loved it. And then the CPA that owned the firm retired and she sold the firm. And right about that same time, one of my clients at the firm needed someone to come work internally for them. They had grown.
mhm.
They were a company that was on Shark Tank, the TV show, and
Ooh,
their company
fun.
was really, it was a lot of fun. Their company had started growing. They needed someone just dedicated to their account. So I went to
Hmm.
go work for them, which was kind of a different side of doing the accounting, working
Hmm.
inside of a business and
Right.
working really close with the business owner and really having a better understanding of what was important to him as a business owner when it came to finances. So I'd
Hmm.
kind of seen the outside perspective and then the perspective on the inside. And it was while I was working there that I was craving the lifestyle and freedom and the freedom of choice that
Hmm.
entrepreneurship allows.
Yeah.
And I just was daydreaming, like, what would it look like if I started my own business? What kind of clients could I work
Hmm.
with? What would my schedule look like? Who could I hire? Like, how would I build my business? And finally, one day I was sitting in my car on my lunch break and I just needed a little break from work. And so I'm
Hmm.
eating my sandwich in my car and I was like, I'm just going to take the first step, whatever that looks like. I'm just going to take the first step to starting my own business. And I chose a business name and I filed for my LLC that day in the car, like literally on my phone.
I'm so proud of you. I love that. A woman of action.
Yes, you just got it. Even if it was a small step, it's not like I got a
Yeah.
bunch of clients that day, but it was the first step. And from there, I was like, if I can just keep taking baby steps,
Hmm.
then I can get closer and closer. And about 10 months later is when I went full time.
Amazing. You're speaking my language. Tiny habits, people. You do the
Yes.
tiny, tiny steps, and they add up. They add up to big leaps
They
at the end of
do.
the day. So it's very important. Congratulations on doing that. You talked about certain things that you started to ask yourself. What does it look like? How long would I work? All these questions that you were asking yourself about being your own boss. Want to give us the answer? So, what does that look like for you now? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Well, it's so funny. And I think before I had a business, my parents were entrepreneurs and I had worked for small businesses, but it's different when you're
Yeah,
the owner of the business, right?
right.
And so I was a little naive to the idea of my time will be completely my own. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. And then you have clients that have needs, and then I started hiring, so I've got a team of 5 now and they have needs. And
Congrats.
thank you. And just your schedule gets busy with exciting things, and I think that's the key thing that I have to
Hmm.
remind myself is everything that's on my calendar that I get to show up and do every day are things that I chose and are things that I'm super excited about. But that freedom of schedule looks a little different than I think I
Yeah.
thought it would going into a business.
Absolutely. I think that, we were talking a little bit before we jumped on to record. I was coming from a meeting today and I went to have lunch with a girlfriend. And that was one of the things that I probably did more when I worked from home for a company that was not mine than when I do for myself. And
Yeah.
in the last few weeks, I've been thinking, no, this is why I started the business to have more
Yeah.
freedom, to have more flexibility in spending time with my friends is and having lunch on a weekday is important. I don't have to go for the entire day. I can just go for an hour and, feel like I'm connected to someone. And I think these are the things that we need to redefine.
Yeah, and just be more intentional about. I mean, I think
Yeah.
now I realize that I do still want that freedom. I mean, that's the one of the reasons I got into business is to be able to choose my own schedule. It's just I find probably similar to you based on what you just said. I find that I'm like, oh, I'll just work through it. Like I'll work through lunch or I'll answer a few more emails or I'll get that
Right.
work done. And I just have to be more intentional about scheduling that time and allowing myself that space, just as I allow my employees, because I want them to have that freedom too. Um, it's just being more intentional about it rather than like, oh yeah, if something came up, I'd do it, but I don't unless I
Yeah, we
intentional
have
about it.
to really be able to, because time sometimes is that commodity that we take for granted, but yet we need more of.
Totally.
And Ashley, I have to say, the other thing too, that in looking at your site, there's a phrase that you have on there that when you become an entrepreneur, you trade stability for possibility. But possibility, a lot of times, is scary for people. And it keeps that stability is what keeps them trapped. What are some of the things that, especially since you're working with entrepreneurs and you're empowering them, what are the possibilities that individuals can have when they're running their own business?
I mean, I think the biggest one is that you have unlimited income potential, right? Like you are, as an entrepreneur, you are in charge of how much money you make. And um, you don't necessarily have that unless you're in maybe a, really high commission sales job or something like that.
Right.
Usually in a job, you don't have the control over how much you make. And as a business owner, you can take your business as far as you want to take it. And
Yeah.
that possibility to me is so much cooler and so much more exciting
Yeah.
than the stability.
Yeah. When people are getting ready to launch their business, and I guess this is a question that I get, but I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are. Do you think that you should have a certain amount of nest egg or money to, like, especially if you're going to be leaving your job? That stability for the possibility. Should you have money saved up? And what are your thoughts from your perspective?
Yeah. So as the way my accounting brain works, I definitely think that it is smart to have some sort of nest egg, something to fall back on should you decide to go for it full time in your job and it takes longer to make as much money as you want than you think it's going to. Sometimes that runway is just a little longer than we think. Sometimes it's much, much shorter. I've talked to people who will save for a year or two to really have like a large nest egg that they can fall back on, and they find within a month or two they're bringing in the income that they need. So I never want to scare people away because I think it's a fine balance between just do it, don't wait until you feel ready because you may never feel fully ready.
Yeah.
But I do think it's smart to have at least 3 months, possibly 6 months of your monthly, whatever it is that you need to bring home to like pay your bills.
Right.
Save about 3 to 6 months up of that and set it aside and don't touch it. And then that way you can jump into your business, focus on getting sales and getting clients, but you have that to fall back on should you need it.
Yeah. That's such great advice. I really love that. I think that that's one of the things that I was fortunate enough to be able to have that. And it made a difference, you know.
Yeah.
For many entrepreneurs, there's one of those things that we have to start to put money aside also is for taxes. And
Yep.
what are some of the mistakes that people may make with taxes as well when it comes to entrepreneurship?
The biggest mistake that I see people making is not taking advantage of the deductions that are available to them, because every expense that you don't write off just means it's more you're going to pay in taxes. So what we want to do is we don't ever want to get ourselves in trouble by taking too much advantage of the tax law, but we do want to use it to our advantage. So we
Right.
do want to understand what is available to us as business owners and write off as much as we can, because every dollar you write off is going to save you money on taxes. So I would just say the biggest thing is understanding your industry and understanding what's available for all businesses, and make sure that you're tracking that well so that you're able to take all of those expenses on your tax return and lower how much you're going to owe in taxes.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think that there's a lot of times that not having the right information, one of the things that I tell my clients is you don't have to be the expert in it. You have to
Right.
just have the knowledge, and then you hire the expert to be your
That's
support
right.
system, because sometimes when we're trying to do it all, then it's preventing us from actually doing the work. What have been challenges that you have found personally for you, running a business, growing a business, and then still creating that margin for yourself, and filling your cup with the things that you enjoy to do?
Yeah, I think there is a fine balance between wanting to do things on your own and realizing it's not your strength and finding someone else to help you with it. Early in my business, I mean, I think one of the biggest times I've ever shed tears over my business was when I was first trying to build my own website. And man, it was
Don't get me
it,
started on that. And by the way, you
right?
have a lovely website.
Thank you so much. But it was something that, especially early on, I didn't really have a budget to pay someone else to do a website for me. And I was like, I'm sharp with YouTube videos and whatever. I
Yeah.
can figure this out. And until I found a website platform that was a little bit more plug and play, I was trying to build it through WordPress, and man, was that just the hardest thing ever. And
Oh
I
my
think
goodness.
there's I think there's a time in your business where that makes sense. I think there's a time in your business where it makes sense to do as much as you can on your own, unless it's going to cause you physical tears. Like I got to the point where I was like, really, we gotta bring someone else in to help. But
Right.
there's also a time in your business where it makes way more sense to focus on what it is that you love doing and focus on your zone of genius and hire out the support and hire other people to help you.
Right.
Um, and that's where it's kind of that fine balance of how much you're able to pay yourself. We want to cut back expenses so we can pay ourselves more, but we also want to make sure that we're not holding ourselves back from growing. If what we do is bring in sales, bring in new business, or we're the ones providing the service or creating the work, we don't want to take our time away from that, focusing on something that we could pay someone else to help us with.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of stress off our plate.
How do people usually work with you? Do they hire you to be their on call, or do you typically and do you do taxes for people? I'm really interested in this process.
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer monthly bookkeeping and advisory services. That's pretty much the bulk of our business. So
That's great.
most of our clients work with us on a monthly basis. We do all of the bookkeeping, meaning we're tracking all their income and expenses. We send them a report at the end of the month that says, this is how much you made. Here's how much you should set aside for tax savings. Here's how much to set aside for business savings or use to pay down debt. And then here's how much to pay yourself so that they know how much they made, how much they spent, and what to
Yeah.
do with the money they have left over. And then we also offer a lot of like courses and digital products for business owners who aren't quite ready yet for that monthly support,
Yeah.
but are wanting some more organization, understanding to really dig their feet into that side of the business.
I think that this is again the scary conversation that we have with individuals when it comes to money. I had a difficult conversation with one of my clients yesterday because I she doesn't know how much her expenses are for her business.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really where a lot of individuals really go wrong, and you don't understand where the money is going out. Much less, she didn't even know what she's bringing in.
Yeah. It's so common. I mean, it constantly surprises me how many business owners there are that really don't know the numbers in their business. It truly is so common. And I think the biggest thing I always like to tell people is like, don't feel any sort of shame if that's where you
Right.
are. Like, if you don't understand, that's okay. That gives us a place to go. And you're only going to feel so much better once you do understand, even if you see some information that you don't want to see, like maybe how much you're spending in a category or something like that. But that gives you information to work with. And money isn't good or bad. It's just a tool. So we can
Right.
look at what we did before and make decisions about what we want to do going forward. But for sure, that first key piece is just understanding it in the first place and knowing where your money is coming in from and where it's going.
Yeah, it's such a good thought, and if you're thinking, oh, I'm defined by this or that makes me a whatever, a fill in the blank, then I love that you're saying that it's neither good nor bad. It's just neutral. It's a tool, and
Yeah.
for many of us, we carry the baggage of what people taught us or what we saw families really be able to do with
Totally.
money.
Yeah. And women specifically, women are raised, they're taught a lot differently about money than men were. I mean, women are traditionally taught to save and find discounts and not spend frivolously. And men are typically taught to invest and take risks and really spend on the growth of themselves or their business. And so it is a super valid feeling when women feel sort of ashamed or like it defines them if they feel like they're spending their money in a bad way, whether
Right.
they're saving too much or not saving enough or spending too much or spending in the wrong places. And the truth is that money is not good or bad. It truly is just a tool that we exchange for things that we want or that we need. So if we can sort of flip the script to say, this isn't a good way that I've been doing it or a bad way, it's just the way I've been doing it.
Yeah.
And there might be a way that gets me closer to my goals and closer to the things that I want. And if we can focus on that and just be really intentional about the way that we manage money, the way that we spend money, the way that we save money, that's just going to give us better outcomes. It's going to get us closer to where we want to go.
Yeah, I think that, you're so right. Women and men looked at money so differently. We and I'm gonna share this so that we have, of course, the podcast is one of the things that we do, and now we have a podcasting service. It's part of the offers for Go Confidently services, and my husband, he's like, we need to buy this technology, and it's an investment in the business.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fancy bells and whistles, and I'm like, yeah, no, we don't. Use the free version.
I love it.
So it's such an example, right? And by the way, there's other things that in when it's not about money that I am like all in. I'm like, we're gonna jump in and do this, and he's like, oh yeah, no, that's not happening. But when it comes to this type of thing, I think that that's just my programming too. What are things that small businesses should really invest in that is not a frivolous expense? If you're a woman running your business, and what are things that maybe, again, without knowing individual circumstances, but what do you see? Because I bet that you see some commonalities between people that maybe this kind of derails them in what they're spending their money in and investing in their business.
Yeah. Well, I think as entrepreneurs, we are typically really creative and we get really excited. So oftentimes we see like something new and shiny or a new opportunity or something new that we could offer to our clients, and we want to immediately go after it. And that usually costs some money along the way, whether it's just your time or a new app, or you hire someone to help with this piece, or it's a marketing expense or whatever that looks like. And sometimes those things are great, and sometimes we want to say yes to those opportunities because they are going to help. But the biggest thing is we want to make sure that it's actually in line with our goal.
Yeah.
Because I think often we see what other people are doing and we think that's so cool, I want to do that too. But
Yeah.
their goal might be so different than ours. And goals can look a lot of different ways. Like if you could have goals to just increase revenue and profit, you could have goals to work less, you could have goals to, you know, save more, pay off debt, or travel, or whatever that looks like. There's so many different goals that you could have within your business that relate back to your personal life.
Right.
And we want to make sure we're not following a shiny object or what someone else is doing, because they might be doing that to get closer to a goal that we don't have. So it's really not that there's like, this expense is a great one and this expense is a bad investment. It really is. I call it a difference between sloppy spending and intentional spending. And to me, sloppy spending is us just kind of saying yes to things we want in the moment. I think a lot of us go through phases of our life where we do this, or seasons where we just think, I want that, I'm going to buy it. I want that, I'm going to buy it. That looks fun, I'm going to try it. This opportunity looks good, I'm going to try it.
Yeah, I've been there.
And I think sometimes it comes in waves. Sometimes we get in a wave, especially around the holidays or Christmas. We're buying for
Yeah.
other people, then we're buying for ourselves, and that's all okay. But we just want to make sure that we kind of check ourselves and get back into a season of intentional spending and saying, okay, I want this, but is it going to get me closer to my goal, whatever that goal is in your personal or your business life? And if it aligns, great, perfect. That's a great investment. Let's do it. If it doesn't align and it's like something over here we just saw that looks nice, then maybe we let that sit and think on it to see if it's really still the
Yeah.
best purchase. So it really just in your business depends on where you're going and making sure that you're kind of filling the boat with expenses and things that are going to get you closer there.
Yeah, one of the biggest rules that I created, I would say, and I'm going to be 3 years running my business, but after the first year, I made a rule that if there was like, because we get those emails, right? Hey, I'm running the new blah blah blah, and if you get it now, and they're like, oh, I need this in my business,
Yeah.
right? And then I realized that I was accumulating courses or this and services, and then I thought I don't need that because these are the goals for my business. These are the things that I'm working on, and learning that technology or adding this is not supporting what I'm doing. So I have a 24-hour moratorium. I won't buy it. And if it's going to support my business, I still have to sit on it for 24 hours. Even if that means I'm going to lose the bonuses, the early sign on bonuses, because that's where we go wrong. Now, I know one of the things that I did last week, and I'd be interested to really get kind of your take on this, is I held a masterclass on creating sexy offers that sell confidently, that you're confident about. And I think that I see two sides of the spectrum. I have clients that barely want to charge and certainly not charging what they're worth. And then I have clients that are not clear on what they offer, and that's a little bit of what we're working on, and how they provide a transformation for people. And then they wonder why they're not getting clients because they're charging an exorbitant amount of money for what they're offering. So how should people, in your opinion, create rates that allows them to pay themselves or bring in more profitability to the bottom line? Give us a little insight to that.
Yeah, I love conversations about pricing. I think pricing is something that businesses at literally every single level are constantly evaluating, as we should. So this conversation just comes up all the time with all different types and all sizes of business owners. And I think when it comes to pricing, especially in the earlier stages of either your business or a product or service, you could be in business for a long time and you launch a new product or service, and we don't know the best way to price it until we really jump in. So anytime you're trying to figure out kind of how to set your pricing, it's a combination of a few things. First is you've got to see what the market is charging for something similar, right? Like we need to understand what sort of people are willing to pay for something in this realm of what we're offering. And really, I should back up and say, first, we do need to get clear on what it is that we want to
Yeah.
offer, even if all we really know is the solution, and then we can
Right.
figure out the details that fill in. But we want to know what people are willing to pay. We want to know how much we want to make and how many we think we can sell, right? Like we need to figure out how much profit we want to be able to make and realistically how many we think we can sell, and make sure that we're pricing in a way that's going to make it worth our time based on how many people we really think might buy something that we're offering. And the third is a gut instinct. And whenever I throw this in, I think sometimes people are like, I want the formula. Give me the exact formula so that I know exactly how much to charge. And the truth is that there isn't an exact formula because everyone is different, and
Yeah.
people will pay one person more than another for the exact same thing because they want to work with that person. So part of it is a gut instinct about what you know about your potential clients or your audience, what you know about yourself, and how much you truly want to charge for what it is that you're going to offer. And for the people who you had kind of mentioned are not charging enough, right? Like
Yeah.
they're really, really like offering what they're offering at a very low price. What I want to say to those people is don't limit yourself based on what you think other people are willing to pay you.
So
Because
good.
when we are the experts, it's like I wouldn't pay a lot for another accountant to come in and do my accounting
Right.
because I can do it. So
Right.
if I can do it and I know that it's something that I am good at and that is something that we do, we value it differently. Whereas whenever we're going to someone else who needs our expertise, it's not something they're an expert in and they need it. Well, their value of what we offer is different, right? It's something that they need in their
Yeah.
business. And so I think sometimes we undercut it because we're like, no one's going to pay that. Well, we don't know what they would pay. We don't know what their limit is.
Hmm.
And so even if you can get it out there at a certain price and then increase it until people are like, absolutely no, we're not buying it at this price. We really don't know what people's cap is until we test the market.
Yeah, I think that that's a really wise way of looking at it. I think that many of us, and I think that this goes back to our value system as well, because we think, oh, I would never pay for that, but we don't know what our solution actually means to somebody,
Right.
and how much they would be willing to pay for what we have to offer. And like you said, if we're the expert, we wouldn't pay a lot for that. But if you're getting the value, and again, for me, value based pricing comes with there's got to be that trust. People have to have the urgency, and it's got to be important to them. And there's also complexity that you're giving them. You're making it easier as opposed to letting them navigate the waters that are so complex to them. And if you have all of these components, then you can create a value price that makes sense, and people again test the market, which is so important. And keep redefining. There's no right way in. As we grow and scale, that's always going to change as well.
Absolutely. It will constantly change and the market changes and inflation happens. And as you get more experience in your field, or even just get more experience in selling that particular product or service, it naturally becomes more valuable because you know how you now have more experience on what that is and can offer more value to your client.
Yeah.
So whenever you're first starting, you never want to set a price and just say that's going to be the price for the rest of this business's life,
Yeah.
because so much is constantly changing. So it's important to just continue evaluating it.
Yeah. So now I am curious, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this. And for me, one of the things that again, this is not my zone of genius, but I made it a priority. So one of the things that I did, again, I got my software for keeping my accounting and billing and making sure that I knew what's, out on the street and what I need to collect, etc. Keeping track of my expenses. And then I discovered a book by Mike McAllowitz on the Profit First. And I use that framework. I'm still revising it, recalibrating that process. What are your thoughts? Are you familiar with Profit First? And I don't know if you have any thoughts to share with us.
Yeah. I actually love the book. He has so many analogies that I use all the time in conversations with clients. And the CPA firm that I worked for right out of college was a Profit First professional firm. So we coached a lot of clients through the Profit First program. And my biggest takeaway in seeing a lot of different clients, a lot of different industries and different sizes of business use the Profit First program is anytime you're going to use a program like that someone else says, here's a program, this is going to work, you're going to see the most benefit in it when you adapt it to something that you will actually keep up with and
Yeah.
that you will constantly monitor. Sometimes we need like a why and a reason behind doing something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're like, why am I just clicking around buttons today?
Yes,
Like
that's
what
true.
what is the point? So when the ones that I see that are successful with it are the entrepreneurs who really see the value in the system itself of Profit First and really allocating. For anyone who's listening who doesn't know
Yeah.
the book, it's really about allocating your profit. It's about deciding that you want your profit first and then allocating that money to different areas and really deciding backwards how much you should spend on expenses after you know how much profit you want to make. And the ones I see that are successful are people who really understand the value in that and the value of putting your profit first. And also who sort of adapt the different accounts that you create and the percentages to something that means something to them and is
Yeah.
something that they'll keep up with.
Yeah. And by the way, I think that that's so helpful. One of the things that I realized is that I wanted to, one, not get out of control with expenses with my business. So
Yeah.
allocating a 30% to my operational expenses was very crucial. The second thing for me is I definitely wanted to pay myself, mainly because I wanted to replace my corporate salary, and I needed to see, am I being able to cover the bills? And
Yeah.
taken a while, but I actually have a bank that allows me to actually make my different buckets
There you go. That's
within my
perfect.
account, and it's so good.
Yes.
So I love that. But still working out
That's
the
amazing.
kinks, because now we're getting into more complicated territory for the
Yeah.
business, which so selfish question now again. So we got a letter from our accountant. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people who might be in the same boat. And our accountant says, hey, our firm's not doing taxes anymore.
Mm,
And then they sent me to another accountant. I don't know him from Adam.
yeah.
How do I hire the right professional, whether I have a business or whether I have my own, my husband and I are working and maybe my husband's a freelancer and I have a 9 to 5, but how do I figure out, and do I need an accountant? Because there's a lot of software out there. Tell us a little bit more about that. How do we navigate those waters?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it comes to taxes and deciding whether or not you need an accountant, you can never pay enough for peace of mind. And the stress that you'll probably feel trying to file your own taxes, especially if you've had an accountant in the past, or if anyone is already feeling that stress because they've been doing their own taxes and are like, at what point does it make sense to hire someone? The amount that you'll pay someone to relieve that stress and then be able to focus on something else is a game changer. So I
Yeah.
always think it's a good idea to have somebody help you with your taxes. But when it comes to picking the right person and kind of vetting out who is going to be right for you, truly, I this is I truly think that social media and the online space has made it easier to get to know somebody before hiring them. And so I think that if you're someone who spends time on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever your social media site is, most firms, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of firms are starting to create some sort of online presence there. Whether you can read reviews online on Google, or you can see what they're posting on blog posts or something like that, where you can get to know them a little bit more. You want your accountant to be someone that you feel comfortable with and that you would feel comfortable sort of opening up and telling them about your life and your money. It's a very personal conversation.
Yeah.
So any way that you can sort of get some insight into what they're like, I think is going to help. Reviews are great for that. But
Yeah.
being able to sort of scout someone out in that way and doing searches in areas that you feel comfortable, if you're someone that spends a lot of time in one place in the online space, search there for an accountant. Ask in Facebook groups if you're in a Facebook group or things like that to get referrals. But
Yeah.
I think anytime you can sort of get to know someone in an authentic way before you're just handing over all of your financial information can make you feel
Just
more
like,
comfortable.
oh, you make
But
me feel so good about my search, because so first of all, I that's the first thing that I did is when they recommended this person, I went to their website, and I don't know, I'm sad to say, yeah, their website has not been updated since like 2005. Oh, so
yeah,
scary to me. It's scary to me. And by the way, that doesn't mean that someone does cannot be a competent person
that is
just
totally
because
true.
their website is not pretty
Yes.
and aesthetically pleasing. But when I started to go in further to check into social media, they again, not a presence, and it goes back to. And by the way, I am hesitant. I did speak to this person on the phone, and he seems to be, oh my goodness, oh so competent. Still, I still am hesitating, right? Hesitating over hiring the person, because there's a level of trust
Yeah.
in for you as a service provider, whatever it is that your service is. I want to just reiterate that your brand, you as a person, sometimes the first thing people will see about you is either your social or your website. And, if you want people to know and connect with you, make sure that you update certain things, or in the very least, have your picture there, because people connect with people, not with just a bunch of like blog posts or things. And that's important. So, but do vet the people, talk to them, see if they're the right professional. And again, you may be the right professional, but your calling card is sort of the first impression someone gets.
Yeah, I love what you said too about having your picture up, because I completely agree that having a website and all these social media presences doesn't necessarily mean you're more competent than anybody else. And people who
Yeah.
don't have that are likely very competent and can do a wonderful job. So I think even if you don't have anything, starting with like just putting a picture of you or your team up on Google or
Yeah.
something where
Yeah.
people can search and see that you're a real human with, real feelings and can feel a little bit more
Hmm.
connected. I think that's hugely helpful in making people feel
Yeah.
comfortable.
I love that. So now and one more question for you when with the services that you offer, because I think that entrepreneurs, we continue to scale and grow. I think that at one point people, especially online service providers, we have the potential, like you said in the very beginning, to grow so much, and it's limitless really to what we can do. So at one point, an accountant, we need a CFO. Is that fractional CFO? Is that services that you offer as well?
It is, yeah. That's
Yeah.
something we really enjoy doing. All of our monthly packages have some sort of advisory built in, but we also do one-off calls because numbers are great and we want to make sure they're accurate, but they're really helpful when you know what to do with them, when you know how to make decisions based on the numbers in your business and really use them to your advantage. And as entrepreneurs, we're little boats, right? Like big
Yeah.
corporations, every decision they make has to go through a lot of people.
Yeah. A lot of layers.
And yes, a lot of layers.
I've been there.
Yep. And I mean, as small businesses, we can see, okay, something happened last month. We want to change it today, and we can just turn our boat and change it and pivot. But we can't do that if we're not monitoring the numbers and like
Yeah.
keeping up with the information and using it to help us make decisions. So I think it's a good idea for, especially as businesses are growing and getting in sort of a scaling mode, to have someone help guide them through some of those decisions.
So good. This has been really, really informational. Ashley, you're doing some incredible things because the support that
Yeah.
you're providing to your clients. And by the way, I love that you have so many resources for people to take advantage of. I want people to go and check you out. Again, your website is PPLL account. No, oh my God.
It's a tough one, but you can go. I have
Okay.
another one
All
that'll
right.
direct
Tell
you
me
there.
because
So
I'm going to put them both, but
there's
go
a
ahead.
lot of letters. You can go to heyprettypenny.com,
Oh,
which
that's
is
so easy. Yay.
heyprettypenny.com, and that'll take you to our resources, or if you're interested in services, that'll direct you there too.
Amazing. Well, you have been a joy, and I think that you can come back anytime to talk money
Oh,
and to
thank
talk
you.
about your services. It's been so great to be able to get to know you a little better and know that, you have this passion and drive to help entrepreneurs. And again, you know your stuff. You've had a great journey of experiencing from a lot of different angles. What does it take to be able to have that support system when it comes to money? So, and when you have the right accountant, when you have the right support system, then you can make more money
Yeah,
money with your money. So,
that's right. That's
yeah.
right.
Ashley, any other place that people can find you in addition to the heyprettypenny.com?
You can find me at Pretty Penny Accounting on almost all social
Okay,
media, and then
great.
heyprettypenny.com, and you can send me a message at any time, and we're happy to sort of guide you from there. And I just want to say thank you so much for having
Yeah.
me today. This conversation has been wonderful.
You're terrific. Thank you so much. And you have an open invitation. Come back anytime. And don't forget to
Wonderful.
give Ashley some social currency. Like her stuff, share it. Tell her you found her through Casa de Confidence. And don't forget, my friends, and don't forget, Ashley, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.